Hi, this is Maria Loy with FinancialJuneteenth.com, and today I'm so excited to have a conversation with Dr. Harnett and John Paul once again. I know that some of you guys were asking, hey, where are they? What happened? And we took a little break, but we are back in full effect. And before we get started, I think I'm echoing on someone's end. Well, anyway, so how are you two doing?
Very well, thank you very much.
Perfect. So good to see you. Both of you looking really good and sharp. Got on your blazers. Look great.
Thank you, Maria. All about keeping up appearances.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, okay, today we're going to talk about e-commerce across the continent of Africa. So, of course, Dr. Harnett and John Paul, they are experts in business creation and consultation in the continent of Africa. So, John Paul, would you like to start off by kind of giving us an idea of why anyone should invest in e-commerce on the continent?
Okay, thank you, Maria. E-commerce is very interesting right now because of what's going on. You know, when Amazon came up in the early 2000s, it was revolutionary. You know, it changed the way people bought stuff. It changed, and up till today, that edge, it still maintains that edge because Amazon totally changed the game. On your computer, you could buy stuff that you would have had to walk down to the mall or something and then go through. You know, shopping is not really an exciting experience for many people. And I'm one of those people, I don't like to, I don't like to walk around in the malls and everything.
Me either.
It's like a godsend. Yeah, so then about a decade later or a little more, e-commerce started to make inroads into Africa. Now, I just want to give you a small snapshot of why e-commerce is feeling a huge need in Africa. Take the cities, for example. Let me use Lagos. Both of you are aware of the kind of traffic. I always complain about the traffic. It's crazy. Most times, if you want to get things done here, it might take you the whole day, just one task. You know, so imagine you were going to the mall and then you had to spend the whole day in traffic. You know, that's crazy. So you tell me there's this offer where I could buy stuff online and then you bring it to my house. And I'm jumping all over the place because it's exciting. I don't have to be under the sun, no traffic, no sweat, nothing. It's a huge piece of value you're giving to me. And it's no surprise that e-commerce has really taken off in places, like Nigeria, Ghana, West Africa. Interestingly, there's this company that is fast emerging and it's taking on the name, the Amazon of Africa. It's called Jumia. Jumia started in Africa about 4 or 5 years ago. Recently, I saw it on Forbes. It's reached the $500 million valuation. Just 5 years in business.
Wow.
To funnel right into Nigeria, in Nigeria there are cities that you call tier 1 cities. Cities that have like above 7 million people, and then you have tier 2 cities that are below, say, 4 or 3 million. So I know that Jumia, for example, is competing with a few others who came in, and they expected to reach like projections in some of these cities in like 6-7 months, and they're hitting their targets in 2 months.
Wow!
Because the demand is huge. It's not just huge because people are buying; it's huge because people find a lot of value in it, and it coincides with the explosion of smartphones. Phones that have the capability to connect to the internet, and you have a young population, and people are just buying. It's a lot of buying going on here. So I'm not surprised that Jumia is this successful. I'm not surprised that some other ones that have come up as copycats are also getting successful. Kemu is one of them. They've branched into some other countries, Egypt, Morocco, Uganda. They're spreading fast because all they're seeing is the model is successful. Once they find out it's successful in one country, they just keep, replicating.
Mm-hmm.
And $500 million is a drop in the bucket if you really compare it to the size of the overall market. So it just shows that these guys are on an upward trend. So any business that can feed into this trend is really going to have a field day. I think before Dr. Harnett comes in, there was this problem Jumia was having about green groceries, getting the right quality of green vegetables, local produce. These are things that you can't easily import, like eggs and things like that. And you have, there are not many businesses that are feeding into that supply chain. So these companies are feeding a huge need, but they need a lot of supporting structures, people who would supply them the product that they have to sell. So when we talk about e-commerce, we don't mean that you should set up a website and, get out there. You can actually feed into the existing structures and, have a niche for yourself.
Wow, very interesting. So, Dr. Harnett, I want to ask you, how does one, because I know if I go online and I purchase a URL, I don't know if that URL, that .com URL is compatible with, Africa, web browsers or whatnot, or servers in African nations. So could you kind of tell us the process of starting an e-commerce business? Can you just purchase a regular .com, or do you have to get something else?
Yeah, absolutely. You can purchase a regular .com. I mean, we see that some of those country specific URLs like .u, UJ for Uganda or KE for Kenya, they become actually more popular. But a lot of them are still running with the regular .com, and that's really the beauty of e-commerce in Africa. I just want to stress on some of the aspects why it is such a great trend and such a great business sector industry to be in. First of all, obviously, like everywhere else, we're seeing that the kind of small guys, the small entrepreneurs, SMEs or startups can now compete with the big guys. So new startups like these fast tech guys that are in Africa, a lot of the young people who are very into the technology scene in Africa are coming up with great ideas, and they're developing these e-commerce businesses, and some of them have really grown to huge success, competing now, let's say, with the big guys up in some of the top businesses in the country. And this is really beautiful, because we always have that worry of lack of equality in Africa, that really sticks, or exploitation. And now this era of technology allows young Africans, like everywhere else, to come in. But it also means the same for the diaspora, because a lot of people who are based in the diaspora worry about relocating, or they worry about the security issues on the ground. And what e-commerce really does do, and we have to kind of differentiate between two kinds of e-commerce business. There's e-commerce business that requires local logistics. So, for example, like John Paul said, an e-commerce where you do online shopping, and then that needs to be shipped to you. So if you set up, obviously, an e-commerce business like that, you will need local logistics services on the ground. And that can make the job, again, a little bit more complicated. You need employees and a system and an office and warehouse and vans that ship the goods to the customers. But we should also not forget that there are e-commerce businesses where you don't need these logistics on the ground. Just a simple example would be, in terms of, for example, accommodation or hotels in Africa, or travel. That means you are building platforms. For example, now in the tourism industry, where you build platforms for accommodation or hotels, who sell through your website. And you can do that with a lot of services and goods, where you are actually not the one owning the goods or shipping the goods or managing the goods. You are a platform aggregator of existing services or goods in Africa. And this is a business that you can run from anywhere in the world, and you can target the African market. And that means that you don't need to relocate. It also means that you can often start with a minimal capital. A lot of people are worried about, oh, I need to save first, and how can I fundraise, and how can I get investors? But this is actually a business that you can often start with almost nothing in hand, you know, with on a shoestring budget, and then look for investors later once the business model has been proven to be successful. And it is also a business concept that is pretty secure, because let's say, you know, sadly terrorism, some new attacks erupt on the ground, or unfortunately you have or corruption on the ground. A lot of people worry about corruption, but if you run such an internet platform, it takes you away from these worries. And therefore, I think it's one of the most valuable business concepts for African and the diaspora.
Wow, thank you so much for that insight. So one last question here I want to ask in regards to e-commerce. What do you guys think about e-commerce, or how do you guys think over here in the United States? I'm sorry, my thoughts are jumbled, but over here in the United States, we've had a lot of cyber attacks. Do you think that businesses that target locations in Africa, for example, are more susceptible to being cyber attacked, or is it about the same, or are cyber attacks not as frequent over there as they are over here? What are your thoughts about that?
Okay, for the interesting thing about e-commerce is it's borderless, you know? So what it means is the platform is the internet, and as long as you have a connection, you can get on. It doesn't matter if you are in Slovakia or you are in Uganda. It's the leveler, you know, everybody's equal. So the way it works is if you buy a URL and then you host your website, most of the hosting companies are based in Europe and America, and they come with their full suite of security measures, you know, professionalism and all that, you know. So it's not one of those businesses where you say, oh, because I have to do business in Africa, I have to get a physical location in Africa, which opens you up to all kinds of threats, security threats, you know, all kinds of threats. But you could be doing business in Africa, your website is hosted in the US or in Europe. You don't have to bother about that. As long as you sign up to a good hosting company, you are just as vulnerable as any internet business anywhere else. It's just that companies like Amazon and eBay, because they are high value targets, they have a lot of, you know, technical experts on their team, you know, who have to worry about that. But because you're a small business, until you attain prominence, I don't think you're just as vulnerable as the next business anywhere else in the world.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Well, you guys have given us some incredible information about e-commerce, and I'm really excited to get some feedback from some of our readers or viewers or listeners. So thank you so much. I'm so excited to see you two as well. I know it's been a while, and it's really good to get back in the swing of things. So thank you so much for the information you shared today.
Absolutely, it was a pleasure, like always. Thanks, Maria.
Thank you. And for you guys, the reader, the listener, the viewer, thank you once again for tuning in to Financial Juneteenth Television. We will continue these conversations with Dr. Harnett and John Paul, and we're hoping that you'll continue to tune in and leave us some feedback and even ask us some questions. If you have specific questions that you would like to ask Dr. Harnett and John Paul, please, you know, feel free to leave that in the comment section. And last but not least, I know I didn't mention this initially, but these two people are the co-authors of 101 Ways to Make Money in Africa. If you would like to speak with them one-on-one, there is an opportunity to do that if you're interested in opening a business or even just exploring the opportunity for doing business on the continent of Africa. There are opportunities for you to get in contact with them. So that URL will be in the description of this video. So thank you so much for tuning in, and you guys take care.